And he made an interesting point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader. And when they took him out, that power base was supporting Assad. And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis, removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
So you don't think that, and I don't, it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details.
And he was given the opportunity to be released early. And he turned it down because he thought it would be dishonorable to lead before his fellow servicemen and women. And when I first got here...
There were no women there, but yeah.
Okay, man, you're right. When I first got here, McCain hated my guts, and he actually referred to me and Rand as wacko birds.
I remember.
I have up on the...
I remember I actually liked that term. I used it privately to refer to you over some scotch. Forgive me.
If I have a baseball cap that...
You are kind of a wacky bird, aren't you? It's like, I'm a wacky bird too. I don't think that's an insult.
Grassroots supporter gave me with a picture of Daffy Duck and labeled wacko birds, which I liked. And
I mean, to be fair, is it possible that they refer to you as Daffy Duck because of the way you talk and the way you look? You have a bill-like nose. I don't think that's controversial. It's like, I'm not saying it's wrong that you have a bill-shaped face. I'm just saying that that's what it looks like.
Laughed when, but when he did that, I went to the Senate floor and I gave a speech praising John McCain. And it was the day he had attacked me publicly. And
this is total boomer prattle. I mean, this is like, it's almost like we're witnessing how archaic and broken and old American politics is. It's like, feels like something's dying, but nobody knows what the rebirth of it is. Like, it's like, what are we even watching anymore?
Happened to be, it was the 40th anniversary of his release from the Hanoi Hilton. And I just talked about what a privilege it is to serve with someone who suffered for his country, who served. And I didn't get into where we disagreed on policy on that speech. I just said, look, the man is an American hero, and I'm proud to serve with him.
That's all very interesting, but can we get back to the wacky birds? I just like the way it sounds.
But that was meant to be a statement also, that if you attack me, I'm going to praise you, not for things that are not praiseworthy. If I disagree with you...
What are you talking about? It sounds like this guy is so like a truck or car salesman. It's like he's taking forever to sell you the car.
I will not be shy about saying it, but...
I mean, you could swap Ted Cruz with any sort of local or statewide run car dealership, and it would run perfectly. You wouldn't even flinch.
For things that are praiseworthy.
I remember that.
I remember that. I don't remember everything, especially the time I got shit-faced and blacked out. We don't really talk about that, do we? I'm totally willing to talk about it. It's actually a fun time. I don't regret it. Earth says, in other words, tradition is what establishes the Bible as inerrant and infallible. Well, it's not just that, Earth. You're still separating the two as if it's just a propositional statement. Like, there's scripture and it's propositional, and therefore it's inerrant because we're talking about God. What I'm telling you, Earth, and as you maybe hopefully inquire, God willing, into orthodoxy to the level of participation, you'll start to see that scripture and the participation of Christianity are together. They're bundled. And so it's that tradition. It's not the establishment of the Bible as some set of propositions that you read and affirm in your head. What we're saying is that the canon itself is a liturgical artifact. It's a liturgical applied thing. You don't separate it from its liturgical practices. For instance, Earth, when if you go back to 500, laity, perhaps largely illiterate, they don't have a Bible. They don't run around going, "Is this inerrant? Am I reading this correctly?" They're not reading it. Not only illiteracy, but the expense of having that many documents. It's expensive. And so where do you go? What is it? What is this thing called the gospel and scripture and the life of Christ? How is it taught? Well, it's taught through divine liturgy. It's experienced and participated through divine liturgy. That's how it's presented. That's how you go and get it. That's how you receive the gifts. It's all one big participatory gift. But the problem is modernity, no offense to you, Earth, has people, even their questioning, even your question is still in a very modern sense, is you're asking from a modern lens. You're still asking from this distinction between like, well, there's a bunch of text, and how do we know any of the text is true, and is it inerrant, and it's a set of propositions about the world and about faith and whatnot. What I'm telling you is that the very thing itself is the fruit of tradition.
2013.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. I went to his cell at the Hanoi Hilton, and I
got really drunk at the hotel bar. I really like hotel bars. I like them a lot.
I agree with you.
And I've definitely been in shitty bars. I mean, I've been in bars that smell like puke, and they don't do anything about it. It's like one of their staples.
About McCain. I just want to end by asking you specifically about what's going to happen next in Iran and what should happen next. So you've called for regime change. You've said you don't favor the U.S. military participating in any kind of regime change. You said you don't think, and bless you for saying this, that the U.S. military should try and turn it into Belgium.
Yeah.
You've seen Tim Pool and Wilson on God. Tim gets crushed.
Yeah, but I can't find the raw. This is a problem on YouTube I'm finding. I can't find the raw. Anyone tell me where I can find the rawness? You know, no offense to Jake, but I don't want to review it and then review Jake reviewing. You know, it just gets too meta, and I don't, you know. And Australian accents make me feel weird.
Thank God. But there is a third option where it turns into Syria, where it's this open wound and it causes massive migration and further destroys Europe, as Syria has.
Yeah.
And that's a huge cost, and where lots of people die and religious minorities get murdered in Syria again. Are you worried about that?
Sure. And listen, that lots of bad things can happen.
He's such a, you know what I think is ending? Remember I was talking about just a couple minutes ago, I feel like something's dying here. You know what's dying? I think it's that the political rhetoric and the sound of politics, the cadence, the way things are phrased, I think largely to do with alternative media sort of infiltrating and synthesizing with mainstream. This collapse and this collision of legacy media and alternative media and people on TikTok showing up on mainstream, and it's all just getting sort of like mushed together. I think people are starting to see through. They no longer are subject to the pandering of like political talk, the talk itself. Everyone knew it existed, but we sort of just went, yeah, well, that's what politicians do. They sound like this, but I think it's because of Trump and alternative media, where we're basically engaging in a new culture that's emerging, and it has to do with the way we talk about things. And Ted Cruz is still like back in what, yeah, he's doing neocon. He's just being like, I'm still a politician, and this is how I got trained to be a politician. It's like people die. Yeah, it's like we're trying to get what the audience wants now is authenticity. I think the era of politicians needing to be inauthentic because they have to present this thing is kind of over now. We're done with it. The veil has been lifted. We see behind the curtain. Act as yourself. You can still be a president, by the way.
But going back to what we talked about, the principle of
the snakes are dying. Yeah, the pig snakes are dying. They're all dying out.
Defending America. I agree with President Trump that Iran with a nuclear weapon is an unacceptable risk to America. And we need to stop it. I agree with President Trump, and I'll make a point.
But he's not for regime change.
He's not. So he and I disagree. Yeah, look, I think he thinks it would be better. He has not said he's for it. And
It's funny how they say even Tucker, they talk about regime change without translating it. It just means literally like American military and special ops basically interfering with a nation by force, by jackals, by coercion, by this, by that, right? By execution, by Hillary Clinton. And they call it a regime change. It's like, well, don't lie to us, dude. And I just want to be sure. I want to be very clear here when I say regime change. I'm talking about a coup. I'm talking about a foreign entity, the U.S. in this case, going in by force and doing as we will with a foreign nation and their government. It only seems fair.
You know what? Look, it is consequential when the President of the United States says, I'm for regime change. So I understand why he hasn't. What he has said is he's drawn a red line and said Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and the only acceptable outcome is complete dismantlement. So they have centrifuges. They're enriching uranium right now. They're trying to develop a nuclear weapon. He said they must have complete dismantlement. I led 52 senators, Republican senators, in a letter where we said we agree with President Trump. That's the red line, complete dismantlement. I agree with President Trump. I agree with him supporting Israel, taking out Iran's military leadership, taking out their nuclear capability. And I'll point out, look, if you look the first...
See, at least, like, I'm torn. I mean, I kind of look at the modern politics. There could be a good enough reason that's akin to, say, the Canaanites and the Amalekites and all that. Of course, that's a different context, but there could be a moment in time where I would justify myself, America, just being like, no, we're going to stop that from happening. I don't know that owning nukes is that the hill, but it could be. I just don't know enough about it. But at least like people are being more honest, that they're just like, listen, we're a superpower and we're going to intervene with the world. You know, we're going to just say that that's what we're doing, you know, but just don't pretend that like there's somehow like this, like, you know, diplomacy to it. It's not fair. You know, I wouldn't say you should call it fair. So it's like, this is the problem, is like Ted Cruz is saying, you know, what's crossing the line is Iran having nukes. But what's not crossing the line is America stepping in whatever they want to other nations and completely, you know, offsetting their power structure, creating vacuums, which has been habitually the case every time we do it. And so it's just a weird standard.
I think Rachel Wilson sent the footage to Jake.
Oh, really? Well, then, if that's the case, it's like private or unique footage or something. I don't know.
Term.
I mean, I could go through it and just kind of skip through Jake's
I'm hard-pressed
analysis
to think of a single foreign policy decision Donald Trump made the first term that I disagree with. And that's not entirely accidental, because I spent a lot of time the first term in the Oval Office with him. And what happened in the first term often is you would
I don't want to change the subject, but I don't know if you know this, but I actually tripped my balls off in the Oval Office. It's like, I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's true.
have in the administration, you had interventionists in the administration, you had isolationists, and they disagreed. They would fight within the administration. And often
Israel has had the nukes since the 70s. I'm just like, you know, sometimes I put on my tinfoil hat with this stuff because I'm like, nukes have been the threat for so long and we never see any. Not that I'm asking, like, prove it by bombing someone. Okay, Jake and Colin. Yeah, this will save us from this boomer prattle. Honestly, I know this is interesting to some people. To me, this is nauseating. Just looking at this cow, he looks like a real heifer. He looks like a little pig. He looks like if he had hooves, I wouldn't be surprised. If he like started talking with his hands and there were hooves, shiny little hooves. I don't even think Tucker would even question him. Like, I don't know what people's problem is. Your hooves match your face. Seems to be Seems to be what's going on here.